George and Selden Scranton were some of the first ones that came here to start their iron furnaces in the mid-1840s. They liked the idea of the cliff that was there to build the furnaces into, made it easier for loading. There was Roaring Brook, which they were hoping to provide water power to power everything. Directly across from the furnaces, across from Roaring Brook, there was a small iron deposit. And of course you had the coal. Coal was right there. And they got a contract to make T-rail for the railroad. Found out that the iron worked really well for that. Saved the New York Railroad with one furnace. And then they built more furnaces and continued to expand. Eventually they had 5 furnaces. At one point in time, 1/6 of all the T-rail made in America came from the iron furnaces. When you're there today, it's approximately 4 acres. When you walk in up above, you really don't see much if you drive in the parking lot because you're actually standing at the upper level. You can now look down into the furnaces, about 40 feet down. So there's 4 furnaces that are connected. They look alike. As they built them, they improvised and tried different things. So you'll see they're all made a little bit differently. If you look over the front, there's a nice lawn there. At one point in time, that was all sand and it was a casting shed. And there was a building, a roof that would have gone from the furnaces all the way to what is called Roaring Brook. So it's a massive structure, and you're talking about 400 feet of rock all built together, archways that you look at down below. A lot of people think of Scranton as being a coal city, and of course it is, but really it was the iron industry that really made Scranton what it is today.
So another important part of the interpretive experience at the museum is creating programs that reflect the history of the region and the history of industry in Northeast Pennsylvania surrounding the anthracite coal industry. And one of our most important programs is Arts on Fire and Iron Pours. Begun here in the 1980s, a group of sculpture professors from Keystone College worked with the museum to create a small cupola furnace, which ran very similar to the large blast furnaces down on Cedar Avenue in Scranton. And these furnaces work with coke, limestone, and scrap iron. And the 3 of those things are combined in a furnace under very high temperatures that melt the iron. And the iron itself is then tapped out of the furnace and cast into artwork or scratch blocks, which are interactive sand molds that people can design and then are poured, and they get to take an iron piece home with them. Running the Arts on Fire program is very appropriate for the Scranton iron furnaces because of the similarities in the process. Both the big furnaces and the little furnace tapped out molten iron, and that molten iron was then, in the case of Arts on Fire, used for sculpture and artwork. In the case of the Scranton iron furnaces, that iron was converted to steel and then used to make rail and a number of other products out of steel. So it was very appropriate to develop this program here. Since the first iron pours in the 1980s, the activity of an arts iron pour at museums has spread across the country. So it really is an impactful way of not only creating art, but also in a sense it's a performance piece as well, because you are using a very dangerous device to create molten iron that can then be cast.